not going to do a long introduction. I'll let Chef Ethan Stowell speak for himself, but we're going to get it kicked off. And then as you have questions, please feel free to put them in our chat box. And then once we get to that point in our conversation, I can start sharing them out with our leaders. So Chef, I'll kick it over to you.
All right, thank you. All right, well, you guys, I just want to thank you for having me on. This is hopefully it'll be a good thing for everybody. I know I always have a good time meeting people and seeing new faces and just being able to have some level of an impact. Hopefully it's a little bit, and we'll see what happens, right? So I mean, I figured I would start talking today, as was said, feel free to type anything in the chat function. I'll monitor that. We'll all monitor it and make sure questions get answered. We're going to go through a little bit of a back story for me, and then we'll go into question and answer. And you guys can feel free to ask whatever you would like. If you guys want to ask about, how I got started or what I do on a regular basis, what my favorite, type of pasta or favorite pizza is, that's fine too. But it's really just, you guys have me for, to kind of answer anything you'd like. If you want to ask questions about current times, the pandemic, and what we're doing in the restaurant industry and what we see, all that stuff's on the table. Just feel free to do, feel free to use me however you'd like. And as far as my background and my story, I figured I'd kind of just kind of break it into four categories, right? The first one was, like how I got started, the beginning, my background, where I grew up, things like that, and then go into how I got into restaurants. And then kind of how that's taken me to where I am now, and then go into the current spot that I am now in my job and what I do now, and then what I see going in what I see myself doing in the future. I am the chef, owner, and CEO of a company called Ethan Stowell Restaurants. We are based in Seattle. We have about 27 different locations. We've got restaurants in most of the neighborhoods in Seattle, downtown, Ballard, Capitol Hill, Madrona, Madison Park, Fremont, all over the place. We also have locations in stadiums. We got the pizza joint in the Mariners Stadium. We're going to add a second one in there. We're going to have two in the Seahawks. So we're going to have, I think, a couple probably in the Kraken Arena when that happens. We also have partnership restaurants. We got one in New York City. We've got one in Japan, oddly enough. We go around and do all that stuff. I do some work with some other companies out there. The main companies I work with are the Four Seasons, because we have a restaurant there. Nordstrom I work with, because we have our restaurant in New York in a Nordstrom. We also do work with Holland America, the Mariners, Delta Airlines, and I think that's about it. But we basically do a bunch of stuff. We're kind of just part of the fabric of the food scene here in Seattle. I started off my, I guess let me give you a background. So I'm from Seattle. Not one of those people that says they're from Seattle, but are actually from like Tacoma or something like that. I actually grew up in Capitol Hill, so I'm definitely a true Seattleite. Not that anything wrong with Tacoma. We're actually looking for restaurants down there. I grew up on Capitol Hill. Both my parents were artists. Both of them, which is an odd background for me, is both my parents were professional ballet dancers. I grew up running around the backstage of the Opera House down at the Seattle Center all my life as a kid, right? So we'd run around there all the time. It was a great way to grow up. A very creative household. A lot of unique individuals that are, people that tend to be artists tend to be a little bit more creative and fun and freewheeling. So that's kind of the upbringing I had. I got into food. I was always interested in it as a kid, as many kids are. I kind of got attached to it as something I wanted to do early on, because it was my dad's hobby. My dad was the home cook. He cooked dinner 7 nights a week for us. There was 3 boys. I'm the youngest of 3 boys, 2 older brothers, 2 artists on artist salaries. Does not mean you're going to canvas a lot and you're going out to dinner a lot. So we ended up cooking at home a lot, and had always had family meal around the table. All 5 of us. It just wasn't an option to miss that. But it was really my dad's hobby, so that kind of rubbed off on me as a kid. And then after high school, I went to a couple of years of community college, and then I just found a job in a restaurant that I really liked. And against parents' wishes, and probably against my better judgment, I dropped out of college. and became a very glamorous job of a janitor at a catering company called the Ruins on Queen Anne. And in the premise that under the promise that I was going to be a cook within a couple of months. So I ended up started my career off as a janitor, which is fine. You know, I actually love the work. I love the people in the restaurant industry. And then I became a prep cook, and that was kind of where I got hooked. I love the restaurant industry so much. I mean, it's not, everybody thinks it's the food, it's the cooking, it's the creativity of the food. Yes, it's all that, but it's also the people that work in the industry. I have always found that there's tons of creative people, tons of unique individuals. A lot of fun happens in the restaurant industry, sometimes too much fun at night. But for the most part, it's a very creative, very supportive, very positive industry where you see a lot of people going through it all the time. You know, there's a lot of people that are, waiters or cooks and servers as they go through college, or as their acting careers taking off, or as, while they're, it's a part-time gig for them because they're, trying to make money living, performing in their bands. There's just a lot of people that kind of flow in and out of the restaurant industry or in food service in general that I actually end up really enjoy the environment. I enjoy seeing new people. There's a lot of, I said, fun, hardworking, creative, intelligent people that kind of touch in the restaurant industry. I think so many people end up having it be a piece of their lives at some point. Some people it's for, a couple months. Some people it's for several years. And some people like me, it's for my entire life. But, that's kind of the main thing that got me hooked was just the people. I ended up really enjoying serving people. I enjoyed the nighttime lifestyle of the restaurant industry. I've always been an early morning riser, so that's always been a little bit tough for me. When you don't get off work until midnight, and you don't get home till 1, you get up at 6 every day. It gets a little bit different. But that's also kept me out of a lot of trouble in the restaurant industry. Going home and going right to bed usually is what I always did. So that was my start. I worked in restaurants for about 8 years, and I was pretty aggressive. I was pretty aggressive about wanting to work hard and go up in the industry. As a prep cook or a line cook, there's not a lot of financial reward to it. So I wanted to get into a higher wage bracket, and I didn't care how many hours I worked, just as long as my annual compensation was a little bit better. So I always found myself trying to be a sous chef, which is a kind of a second or third in command in the kitchen. And I worked on that for a long time, and I did that for a long time. And I always tried to make, get extra catering gigs on the side and pick up work where I could on the weekends. And I always did a pretty good job at networking myself, and I just worked a lot. I think people ask me if I went to culinary school, and I always say, no, I didn't technically, but I guarantee I've read more books and tried more things and experimented more than most people have that have gone to culinary school. I just was a student and studied everything about cooking, and I couldn't get in my 20s. I could not get enough information in my head. I wanted to know it all. I wanted to know everything I could. I wanted to learn different people's techniques. If I went on a trip somewhere, I would try to find places that I could go volunteer for a day of work, so I could see what other restaurants are doing. I just found this job and this career that was just I just needed to know more about it. I needed to know everything I could. And it was also just super fun. I've always been, well, not in high school, but I've always been a pretty hard worker. I like staying busy. I like being active, and that suits the restaurant industry because it is a lot of work. Like I said, I did the line cook sous chef program for about 7-8 years. Got an opportunity to open my first restaurant in 2003 when I was 28, and didn't have any idea what I was doing, but I was arrogant and excited and energetic and full of work ethic, and I just muscled my way through it. And we had a good restaurant. My first restaurant was called Union. It was downtown Seattle. I didn't know enough to be scared of running my own business. And it's probably for the best. If I knew, I probably would have been a little bit more cautious. And we made it work. We made it work for that restaurant was open for 7 years. The unfortunate part was it was going just fine until the recession hit. We were down right across the street from the Seattle Art Museum and the Four Seasons while those were under construction. And it was right when Washington Mutual, probably a lot of you guys don't know this, but when Washington Mutual got seized by the government in the recession, there was a huge loss of jobs in downtown Seattle. And it's kind of was one of those things that our restaurant was coming up at the end of its lease, and it just didn't see the future of it because downtown was just kind of empty. But that's a side story. And we've been doing the restaurant thing ever since then. In 2007, we opened, 2003 opened Union, 2007 opened Tavolata, which is down in Belltown now. We opened How to Cook a Wolf in the same year, and everybody thought we were crazy for opening 2 restaurants in 1 year, and how could we possibly do it? And it turns out we've pretty much done it every year since then, so we stayed pretty busy. And we're just, we're just the company in Seattle that is busy. We like to see our company growing. We like seeing more people getting employed by us. We like the challenges of the day in and day out work. I don't think I'm the best chef in the world, or even Seattle. I think I am, my one skill that I have, I would say that's better than most, is I'm really good at getting really good people to work with us, and I've built an amazing team. And they're way better than me at a lot of things, right? So I've built this really good group of people. If there's something I'm good at, I would say it's really, I'm pretty good at hiring, and I'm pretty good at getting people to stick around and stay with us for a while, and helping them build their careers so that they want to stick with us for a long time. We consider 2007 to be the start of Ethan Stowell Restaurants, because that's when we had multiple restaurants. So we have got people that have worked for us, and that's 13 years. We've got people that have worked for us for 14 years. It's been a rewarding thing. We have a lot of work to do, particularly now with the pandemic. We're just trying to do our best we can to make sure that everything kind of works, and the company is solvent for the future generations. And we see a bright future for us in the restaurant industry, even though now it looks pretty grim. Our plan is to keep on growing. We're opening our first restaurants like that we self-operate solely outside of Seattle. We're doing it in Spokane. We're opening 2 in the spring. And then we've got a few more restaurants that we're opening over the course of the next couple of years. And we're always looking for new projects. Our company is definitely the one in town that's the most aggressive, and we want to grow the most, and we want to keep getting bigger and bigger and better. I'm not the person that believes that a chef owner is the best restaurant. I mean, I think there's a ton of awesome people out there and awesome cooks that want to work for somebody else and are amazing cooks. And I want to do the best I can to get as many of those people to work for me and work with me. We're all part of this thing called Ethan Stowell Restaurants, but the name is not indicative of the culture. We are all part of the same family. We're all part of the same team. We're super supportive of each other. I am not I'm not the only decision maker in the room ever. We definitely work as a team, and the name at the time made sense, and it just kind of stuck around. And I guess that's what we have. Is there anything else that any questions now that anybody would like to talk to me about?
Yeah,
so you guys. What's that?
Sorry, we've gotten a couple questions pop up.
Great.
Your first question is from Miss Berger's 3rd, 4th grade class in Puyallup, and they are curious about what's the most difficult part of getting your business started.
The most difficult part, it's assembling a team that works. I mean, I'll tell you right now, you guys, as you guys get older and you guys get more involved with work, it's about getting people to function as a team. That's the hardest thing. There's a lot of things that are hard. There's a lot of things that are fun. Like, writing menus is fun, right? Building restaurants is fun, and making cool spaces is fun, and hanging out with them is super fun. If you're going to be the leader of it, you got to learn how to be a good role model. You have to learn how to be reliable, consistent. You need to learn how to hire people. Building a team is always the hardest thing. You want to just make sure that you have the correct balance of culture and talent and work ethic. There's a lot of factors that go into it. It's not as simple as just hiring a few cooks and open the doors. You got to make sure people work as a team. You got to make sure that everybody's respectful, and they're all aligned with the vision of what they want to have done. So yeah, definitely the team aspect of it is the hardest one. As you guys learn this in school, right? you guys have to work together as well, and everybody gets along. There's rules, and everybody has to be nice and respectful. I mean, the saying they say, everything you need to know, you learned in kindergarten, is in a lot of ways in the business world is very true. You need to be polite, you need to work hard, you need to be honest. So there's one answer.
Beautiful. From Miss Heaps, their 4th grade class in Puyallup. Curious, what's the most interesting part of your job?
There's a few interesting parts of my job. I'd say obviously the fun parts are cooking and like designing menus and designing restaurant spaces and all that stuff, and coming up with new ideas. All that's super fun and creative, right? It's fun. That's a small piece of the job, right? That's only a portion of it. So a restaurant's open for, Tablada now has been open for 13 years, right? Next month it'll be 14 years. And sure, there's some work to be done on, making sure the space is designed properly, and it has to get a little bit of remodel here or there, and it has to be, updated a little bit to make sure that the furniture is still current and in today's feeling, right? But the fun part of that kind of side of it, the design of the menu, recipe development, going through a build out of a restaurant space is cool and fun. That was, the majority of that was done 13 years ago, right? So you need to make sure you're invested in your business and make sure you enjoy other parts of it, because you can't do that all the time. So I mean, for me, a lot of it is just really, working with a team. One of the great things about the restaurant industry is it's super high energy and energetic, because there's so many young people that work in it. I am 46 years old, and I would say the average age of the employee we have is probably 28, 28 to 30, something right around there. And you're in this spot where you're trying to guide them a little bit. We take our responsibilities of making sure that people are better when they leave us than when they started, very seriously. So a lot of it is just coaching. There's a lot of coaching that goes on. There's a lot of mentorship that goes on, and I really enjoy that part. I want to make sure people are high quality individuals when they're with us, and hopefully they can learn that that's the best approach to not only work but also life.
Excellent, thank you. So you've mentioned work ethic and ambition several times. Would you say those are 2 really strong keys to your success? And what advice would you have for young students to help develop a strong work ethic?
A strong work ethic will get you a long ways. Combine that with something you love to do, is a huge thing, right? I mean, I never got into the restaurant industry to make a bunch of money. I got in it because I really like the work, and I like the hands-on approach to food. I like the craft of cooking. I like the camaraderie of the people. But yeah, I think it's finding out something you like to do, and then working hard at it. Don't get discouraged, remain positive, but you have to work. I mean, like, there's been multiple times in my career where it's been huge setbacks. And you always just work your way through them. And I think when you find something you enjoy to do, when you find something that you enjoy doing, it makes it a little bit easier, for sure. It doesn't mean that the setbacks aren't going to happen, but you have to be determined. You have to stick with it. You have to grind at times, and that's how life is. It's not just work. It's just how life is at times, right? So, but yes, work ethic, ambition, but ambition, I would change that from being ambition and more about passion about what you do. And that's at least been my experience.
Great, thank you. We have a few students who are interested in going to culinary school and getting into the field. When you are interviewing a prospective chef or someone to be on your team, what do you look for? What questions do you ask? And how can they maybe prepare for that?
I think culinary school is great. In some regards, I didn't do it. In some regards, I regret not doing it. It gives you a solid foundation. I think the thing that I would probably go for, would go for like the Seattle Central Community College one, something along those lines. That's not a out-of-state program, doesn't cost a ton of money, but gives you a solid foundation. Because even after you go to culinary school, right? Culinary school is very different than working at a restaurant. Working in a restaurant is fast paced, it's hard work, it's sweaty, it's hot. So when you get out of culinary school, you're still going to be at an entry level position in a restaurant, right? But I think that they're super valuable, to get the foundation and the base of that. When I first started being a chef, when I was hiring people, I always looked for the best resumes all the time. Where does this person work? What other restaurants are they super creative? They're the best cook possible. Then over the years, I've realized that like it really, the magic really is having a person that's a combination of best at their job and best at the culture of the company. Right? You need to make sure it doesn't matter if this person is the best cook in Seattle. If they're a total jerk, it's going to be hard for that company. It's going to be hard for that kitchen to function, right? So I think it is a true combination of experience, talent, and the biggest piece of it, I think, is cultural fit. If you're a hardworking person that gets along with people and comes to work with a smile on your face every day, I can teach you how to cook. I guarantee you that. I can teach you how to cook. I can't teach you how to be nice to other people or pleasant to be around or positive influence on the day. I can't teach you. That's your nature. So, it's either your nature or you're just kind of grumpy. So I think the cultural fit's actually a huge piece of the puzzle.
Thanks. So when you were younger, like a kid or in school, did you have any companies, or did you always know that you wanted to have your own company?
I didn't know I wanted to have my own company. I guess every kid kind of thinks about how cool it'd be to own a restaurant one day. When I was a kid, James Bond movies were something I really watched a lot with my dad. So my dream was to have a casino and a restaurant, and I certainly don't want a casino. I didn't know I wanted to have a restaurant. I knew I wanted to cook. I knew I didn't want to be employed by somebody. I didn't want a boss. That's one thing I did know. I didn't know exactly what I was signing up for, because as the boss, I'll tell you nowadays, or not nowadays, always, bosses. There's this misconception about the boss. It's like people go around doing what the boss says. That actually is not the case. I think a good boss is there to support people and to support their employees and their coworkers more than anything else. I am there to help them more than they are there to help me. So it's not the boss isn't somebody that is just gets to bark orders at everybody and tell everybody what to do. I think a good boss is there. It's a very much a two-way street, and the majority of the street, if you're a good boss, should be that you're giving people good vibes. You're helping them out. You're teaching them more. You're asking them more how you can help them instead of telling them what to do. So I didn't know exactly what I was signing up for, because owning a business is a real deal. It is a big thing. It's something that you should not take lightly. But I've had a good fun. I've had a good fun time with it. Not all of it's been fun. A lot of it's been hard, but we're still kicking and going forward.
There you go. We have a question from an aspiring chef who is a vegan, and curious if you have any advice on how to get really good training, or kind of where to start if you want to be in that specialty field.
Yep. I will tell you, vegan food and plant-based diets are becoming more and more popular. I think you should learn seasonality a lot, because there's a lot of vegetables and grains that are in season at certain times. I would find a vegan chef that you can work for, or go to check out vegan restaurants and see what they're doing. In my beginning of my career, I always read and looked at menus from other restaurants that I had admired. So I just check, just paying attention to what kind of flavor combinations they're using, what kind of seasonality, those restaurants are using. It's a lot more accessible now than when I first started cooking. There wasn't the internet wasn't as available to you. Probably the best vegan chef as far as creativity and seasonality and knowledge is probably McKinney. She owns Plum Bistro up on Capitol Hill. She owns a couple of restaurants that are vegan, and we've been talking to her. We think she's onto something. We'd love to do something with her, but I think plant-based vegan food is a big growing category.
Excellent. I love Plum. It's one of my favorites. Who has been your biggest support over the years? Who's been your biggest ally or advocate?
I'm super fortunate. I've had a lot of people. My parents are some of them for sure. My kids are super cool. I've got 2 kids that are pretty young. But I would say that my parents, probably some family friends that have been around for a long time. It's always good to have people that you can go to. I'll tell you this. Well, here's one thing I'll say. My parents, I told you they're artists earlier, very creative, very positive, very energetic. You need to go to sometimes the people that tell you the truth, not just what you want to hear. So I think you have to figure out where you're getting your advice from. I go to my parents when I want somebody to tell me what I want to hear. I go to other people when I want the real advice deal. If that makes any sense to anybody out there. So I have different advisors for different things. In my work stuff, I definitely go to some friends. I'm an old friend of the family. His name's John Pomfret. He's one of my best friends. I go to him when I want to hear some tough love, and I go to my parents when I want to hear it easy.
There you go. It's good to have that support from both angles. Okay, are you ready for the most popular hands down question of our time together?
All right, sure.
Favorite food to eat, favorite food to make.
Okay, I'll tell you, there's a couple different answers on this. So we do a lot of Italian restaurants, so I love pizza and pasta. Those are just my jams, right? Pasta for me is a huge thing. Growing up in the Northwest, I love seafood as well. So I'm a big seafood guy, like crab cakes and like a crab sandwich kind of thing. Those are super big deals for me. But I would say it's pizza and pasta. I would say the most fun to cook is pasta. I mean, if you're in a restaurant, you're and working on the line, like the pasta station is the busiest one because everybody loves pasta and you sell a ton of bowls of pasta. You have to be super fast. Like if you're the guy in a restaurant, when it's a pasta-based restaurant, if you're the guy that's working the pasta station on Friday, Saturday nights, that's because the chef knows you're the fastest person in the kitchen, right? and probably the best cook, because you really have to move on when you're working the pasta station. I'd say the easiest and kind of most fun station is probably pizza. Pizza's like, if you're working at a place where you're selling a lot of 12-inch pizzas and they're smaller, more individual, more high end. That's like pasta's fun but intense. Pizza's like fun and yeah, man, this is great. I'm having a great night. You're just relaxing. It's not, granted, don't get me wrong, you do get busy, but it's not like pasta. It's just like, yeah, this is chill. This is a fun night, because there's something about making a perfect pizza, and stretching the dough and tearing the balls of mozzarella and slicing the basil, sprinkling the Parmesan cheese. I mean, there's something, and then just the smell of working out of a pizza oven is just amazing. But there's something special about making a perfect pizza. Sometimes you're like, I kind of don't want to sell this one, but it is what it is, right? So I'd say those are the two most fun stations: pizza and pasta. If you want an intense night, work pasta. If you want a kind of more chill night, work pizza.
Right on. Well, thank you so much. That wraps up our time together. I know it was super quick. We really appreciate your time today. Thank you everyone for joining us. Again, as I mentioned, we're going to have several of these over the next few months. We have Jen Mueller next week, who is a broadcast reporter and entrepreneur. So we hope to see you then. And Chef, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. And we hope everyone learned
appreciate
something.
All right, everybody. You guys, thank you so much. Everybody have a great day, and be well. Thanks.
Thank you.